from the bowling capital of the world, America's #1 bowling show. Championship Bowling. From the Firestone Bowlerama, it's Championship Bowling. Hello, everybody. I'm Fred Wolf with two more of our field of 24 of the world's greatest professional bowlers competing for $70,000 in prize money. And topping off our tournament will be the World Series of Championship Bowling. But more about that later. This week, it's Big Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California. From Detroit, it is Dave Soutar. Working with us this week, Pat Patterson, the big smiling Irishman from St. Louis. Pat, how are you?
Fine, Fred. Nice to be with you this week.
Well, we've got, what have we got? We've got youth against the veteran this week.
We sure have, Fred, and we've got two very different styles, too. Bill Bunetta turns the ball quite well, and Dave Soutar rolls it. So it's going to be very interesting to watch.
A turner and a roller.
Right.
All right, Pat, you stand by. Let's meet these boys. Introducing first from Fresno, California. I'm sure you've heard him as he works with us as our color man so many times and does a great job, but he's a bowler also. Bill Bunetta, come on in here, Brad. How are you?
Thank you, Fred.
Well, I got to ask you a fast question. Where would you rather be, out here throwing it or back there talking about it?
I enjoy both equally well, Fred.
Both equally well. I heard a little 300 story about you two fellas that happened last year, and I'm going to bring him in here. From Detroit, ladies and gentlemen, the tall boy, third row, Dave Soutar. Dave?
Hi, Fred.
How are you? Now, this 300 thing, briefly, what happened here? It seems like both you boys are in a rut with this 300 stuff.
Well, 1964 in September, I rolled a 300 game against Dave Soutar, and I met him in the Worlds, and I said, Dave, go ahead, bowling against me. And the very first game he did.
He did? You did that?
Yes.
You boys want to, you know, there's $10,000 for a 300 score. You want to get together and give either of you, you want to tell him, or you want to tell him?
That sounds like a good idea. Let's both get one.
You want to split it?
Right.
You don't want to split it?
Well, we'll each get
I'll have to work this out now. We don't want to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. We'll be ready for the first game on Championship Bowling from Akron, Ohio in just one moment. Ready for the first game of 3, Championship Bowling from Akron, Ohio. Dave Soutar from Detroit won the toss. Wants to start on the right. That puts Bunetta on the left side. All games starting on the left. That man bowling one frame, then the competition moves from our right to our left. Pat Patterson in with us this week, and that 300 story there between these two fellas might give us a little idea. Wouldn't it be nice?
I imagine they're going to be training very hard against each other, Fred.
300 scores, you just don't find them. Bunetta opened in the first frame. A little slider on the right side. He didn't get up to the 3-pin, and it's an open frame in the first for Bill Bunetta. Our statistician, Sam Baca, the young star from California, who is one of our alternates. And a good look at this boy. We call him from the new school, wouldn't we, Pat? Dave Soutar.
Yes, Dave is staying behind his ball with his hand, just rolling it, where Bill comes off the side quite a bit. Also, Bill is more or less playing the second arrow, Fred, and Dave is in by the third arrow.
Well, now, in describing, or you as a pro bowler yourself, who naturally will appear as one of our bowlers, what is your idea of holding the ball down to the side, as Dave does, and extremely out to the outside of his body?
This is so that on the backswing, the ball is right in line with the shoulder, and he has a nice straight backswing. If you hold the ball too much in the center of your body, you've got a tendency to want to go around your hips with it, and you have an outside-in swing as you come through.
Well, Soutar converted that spare. He didn't exactly cover it, the 1-2-8, so Soutar has the spare in the first frame. Bunetta is open, missing the 3-6-10 as Soutar moves left. A Detroit boy, the former Michigan State junior champion in 1961. He doesn't get there, the 2-4-5. That ball seemed to fall back just a bit. 2-4-5. The spare maker indicating the ball between the 2 and the 5. That's exactly where Mr. Soutar put the ball, and he has the spare as Bill Bunetta, the big fella, former Detroiter. Now from Fresno, California, a big turn. He gets there and shakes them up. Oh, he got out of that one in great shape. So Big Bill moves left. This fella's the only bowler in Michigan bowling history to win all 4 events in the Michigan State Tournament some years ago for the double. Here it comes. Solid 10. You know, the boys like to say there's no tap at an 8-pin, but I'm sure when a bowler leaves one like that, he's got to feel something, that he did everything right. But something else took place, which you call, naturally, the tap, the rap. Look out, he's got it.
Ball looks like it slides out there a little bit when they're going from left to right.
So Bunetta with a spare. What happened to that 10-pin there, Bill?
It was right where I wanted it.
Big turn by Dave Soutar. He's there. Boy, there was a bit of rustle on that one, wasn't there? Detroit's king of bowling in 1963 and 1964 on the winter tour, the PBA winter tour, 1965. This young fella picked up $13,500. He won 2 events. Doesn't get there. The 1-2-4. He won the Pikes Peak Open. He won the Colorado Springs Open.
He holds his own in any company.
We watched this fella grow up, Pat, and it makes you feel good to think some of our youngsters, in the Motor City at least, have made the big time. There it is, 1-2-4 covered by Soutar. And Bunetta on a spare in the 3rd. Left a solid 10. He's out of it. Doesn't quite get there, and he has the 2-4-5-8, the bucket.
And this isn't the easiest spare in the world either.
The AMF spare maker indicates between the 2 and the 5, but full. And he got it going away as Bill gives it a little salute. Say, what kind of equipment do you need to enjoy bowling? Well, the answer is none. You just bring yourself down to the nearest bowling center. The proprietor will rent you a pair of bowling shoes and the ball. Other equipment, you don't need anything except the lanes, and they're there. There's the clap of the hand, and Bunetta now back with a very big strike in the 5th. I think you'll like it. I think you'll want to get your own ball bag and shoes eventually. Try bowling. There, he gets it out of there, the 8-pin. So at the end of 5, it's Soutar's 77 strike for Bunetta. 65 strike. We're in the 6th frame of the first game, championship bowling from Akron, Ohio. Dave Soutar in the 6th. That's the first double of the match, and Soutar now has put Mr. Bunetta on the spot. Boy, Soutar lined that one in there overhand, didn't he?
Yes, he did, Fred. He had missed the head pin twice in a row in that lane. He just tightened the line up. That time was beautiful.
Not getting up on the right side. I remember in Detroit, Pat, years ago, they used to call him Bananas.
Yeah, he still has that name, Fred.
He still has that name on the tour. That's a short for Bunetta, I suppose. Bananas. 2-4-5. Get up there. He's good. So Bunetta now with a big spare in the 6th. We go into the 7th frame. Soutar is on 2. Both these boys will be back, making another appearance. It's total pins for their 2 appearances, 6 games. The top 2 scorers will join Dick Weber, the National All-Star champion, Billy Hardwick, the Firestone Tournament of Champions winner in the World Series of Bowling on Championship Bowling from Akron, Ohio. And how about that?
He wasn't light on that one, Fred.
Slight adjustment.
Slight adjustment.
Now, that could be a big one for Willie there. He could get started after that shot.
Well, many times it takes a strike like that to get loose, doesn't it? Here's Davey now. Dave Soutar, 6'3", weighs only 158 pounds, way inside. Solid. Beautiful.
That ball was one board left of the third arrow, Fred, at the arrows, so he's playing a real tight line.
I notice one of the phrases that Bunetta uses quite often when they throw the skidder and don't quite get there. He says it's on the grass or on the ice. So he has been out there himself. Going for 4. He sets one and he's in there and now gets into position for bonus money. $250 for 5 strikes in a row. In any one game, $50 additional for every strike on top of the 5. So Dave Soutar is on 4 as Bill Bunetta in the 8th on a strike needs this one. Too high, the 3-pin. Well, he's been short here on the right side. He left the 2-4-5 and the 2-4-5-8. I guess the tendency was to throw one up there, see what would happen. There's the spare for Bunetta in the 8th. Bill moves to the left as Dave Soutar thinks about that 5th strike. He has 4. Soutar, for 12 games on championship bowling, is averaging .219. Bunetta with a strike in the 9th, and now Dave Soutar trying to start the bonus money. The very deep inside angle here on the right side. Now Soutar won the toss, and he doesn't like this sally because he wants to finish on 23. 8-10.
He gave that ball just about 2 more boards room than he did the last time. He was at about 1 board to the right of the third arrow that time, so that's about a 2-board belly more than the last frame.
Well, as we keep saying, these lanes are reconditioned every week. These are all tournament-grade pins, AMF pins, all registered. And the boys have got to knock them down. Soutar takes the 1, the first open frame for Dave in the 9th, as Bunetta has a chance to cut down the margin. Bill is on a strike in the 9th. Soutar 193 with his split, moving into the 10th frame. That's there. Solid 10.
But you never know in this game.
Dave has nice long arms, hasn't he? He does a lot with that ball. I notice his span is extremely wide, fingertip. He's got that hand covers half of the ball.
Looks like he's throwing a baseball rather than a bowling ball.
Just about. There's the cover by Soutar in the 10th. When Soutar was only 20 years old, 1961, he was the national PBA champion. Won the event in Cleveland. It was a big surprise to some of the veterans for this youngster to come into from the Motor City and win this fine event put on by the Professional Bowlers Association every year. The count for 213, and he gets 7 for 210.
Oh, it's a good place for that one, Fred. He laid that one right down at the foul line.
A chance to cut down the margin to only 5 pins now if he can get these 2 in the 10th. The big lift and turn, and he leaves the 10 pin, and Bill needed that one.
Yeah, he gave that one at arch again, Fred, and
in other words, the boys with the big rounders are not scoring as well as the boys that take the short route.
Right, they score at times. Everyone scores at times, but the best ball, overall conditions, is a ball that's rolling straight into the pocket without too much hook on it. Of course, I think that's been the best ball for 20 years, as long as I can remember, really.
Bill Bunetta, the count 185. Championship bowling from Akron, Ohio, at the Firestone Bowlerama. Fred Wolf, along with Pat Patterson. We're going to have just a word or two with the boys, and Bill, we're having a little trouble on the right side here, aren't we?
Yes, and I thought that was going to be my better lane, but I had left 2 bucket leads, and the adjustment was very bad.
I wonder if Dave could tell us, Pat, what happened on that 8-10 with 4 in a row. That $250 ball get a little heavy, Dave?
I think so. I bellied it a little too much, I believe, and I didn't have any fingers in the ball or roll.
Looked like you gave it about a board or 2 more room than you did the previous frame on that line, Dave.
All right, boys, stand by, because we'll be back for the second game of 3 on championship bowling from Akron, Ohio, the home of Firestone. The start of the second game. championship bowling from Akron, Ohio. Fred Wolf along with Pat Patterson. We have Dave Soutar from Detroit. Doesn't get up there, leaves the 2-5. His opponent, Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California. In the first game, Soutar 210, Bunetta 183. $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. Both these boys will make another appearance, meeting a different opponent. Total pins for their 2 appearances or 6 games will qualify the 2 top men for Championship Bowling's World Series of Bowling, which will include the 2 seeded stars, the National All-Star champion Dick Weber, the Firestone Tournament of Champions winner Billy Hartwig. Bunetta in on the right, trailing by 27 pins. He walks away and leaves the 5 pin.
That one looked good, and Bill thought he threw it good because he turned around and came back, but something happened that must have slid. Let go. He let go of it.
I think that's quite a phrase. Out on the ice, on the grass. We used to say, took the scenic route.
Yep. Route 66.
So Bunetta moves left. Bill thought that he had the strike. Bunetta had 4 strikes, unable to put 2 of them together. And it's a little icy again, and he leaves the 2-5, and those pins, the 5 pin looks a little off spot. The AMF pin spotter will put those 2 pins right back off spot. AMF Sparemaker indicates to put the ball between the 2 pins. Let's see if Bill can do it. Gotta hurry, Bill. A little icy.
Those pins being off spot like that, Bill was afraid of chopping, so he wanted to make sure he kept it to the right.
Dave Soutar with a lead at 27 pins. He's added at least 10 more pins to that. That's the inside angle, and he almost left the 8-10 again. Kicked the 8 out, leaving nothing but the 10.
He had a better line that time, Fred, but like he said before, probably no fingers in the ball.
This little 300 game that these 2 boys were playing with last 1964, I believe they mentioned, was quite interesting. And the fact that they bowled against each other in the Tucson Open in September of '64. And Bunetta shot a 300 game against Soutar. So they met in the World's Invitational about 3 months later. And Bunetta said something like, today, well, why don't you shoot 300 against me? So we thought something like that might happen here this week on Championship Bowling.
Well, it's got to happen in the 3rd game now, Fred, because we haven't had a strike here yet in the 2nd game.
2-4-5. That ball just not getting up there.
Well, they're both having trouble on 23 getting up to the pocket. That's about the 3rd or 4th one that Dave's left, and Bill just left a 2-5 before. Bill's also having a little trouble on 24 with the ball staying a little bit too light.
Covers the 2-4-5. As the boys say, going away. Bunetta moves in on the right. Big Bill trailing by some 37 pins. There it is.
That's the way Bill was throwing them in practice, Fred. He was really stringing them in practice. That's why it's so funny. As soon as the lights go on, it seems like they speed that ball up just a little bit, and it gets them in trouble at times.
1 in a row, he says. There's a turn on. Oh, no. That ball just seemed to quit.
Ball just don't seem to be taken on 23 when they get out by that 2nd arrow like it does on 24.
Bill was kept pretty busy by AMF in the 65 season. Didn't make too many events on the tour, but still a great shootout. He covers the 2-4-5 and the 8. And Bill has had some pretty tough shots out there as Soutar moves in on the right side. That's the 2nd 4-pin cluster that Bunetta has converted. 2-4-5-8. He's had the 2-4-5. No action there. The 5-7 on a pocket hit.
Looked like Dave laid that one down right at the foul line rather than getting it out over the foul line where he can get the lift on the ball. And even though it came into the pocket real nice, it couldn't knock the 5-pin down. And that 5-pin's got a little bit of company.
That's it. Beautiful shot by young Soutar, birding the 5 and the 7. I just wondered, Pat, if we could ask Bill if things are a little slippery out there. Soutar now moves left, keeps this game filled with spares. He has 4 spares, 1 open frame, looking for his first strike in this, the second game. 2 high, the 3 and the 6. Well, the tendency now, Pat, is quite obvious. They can't carry that in-betweener, and the shakers aren't carrying, so they want to throw him up to get the solid hit, and of course they may be pushing him a little too much.
That's what it looked like Dave did that time, Fred. He don't want to have it too thin because he's got the bucket thin, so he's trying to fit the ball there rather than letting it roll.
He's got it. Well, Soutar covers in the 5th. Soutar is now 72 with a spare. Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California against Dave Soutar from Detroit. Championship bowling here at the Firestone Bowlerama in Akron, Ohio. And Mr. Bunetta threw that one up there.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Fred. He's struggling out there now, and he's trying to fit that ball solid in the pocket rather than letting it roll. When he was practicing, that ball was doing all the work. Now he's trying to fit it there.
Bill shoots at the 4, takes 9. So at the end of the 5th frame, here in the second game, halfway in the match, Soutar is 72 with a spare. Bunetta is open in the 5th with 74. We're in the 6th frame of the second game. Bunetta high again, leaves the 6 and a 9. This is actually an unusual leave, isn't it, for a right-hander?
It is, Fred, but you see it occasionally when the ball crosses the headpin, doesn't quite get far enough. It more or less just chops the headpin off there.
You'd wonder how the 10-pin could be out of there, 6 and the 10, or rather the 3 and the 10. Still leave the 6 in the middle with a 9. There's the cover by Bunetta, and Big Bill, of course, having his troubles, as is the youngster Dave Soutar from Detroit. Dave hasn't had a strike, Pat, I noticed, since he left the 8-10 split. Now, this obviously has unnerved the boy somewhat here because he doesn't know where to throw it. He's been light, 5-7. He's had the 2-4-5, and now on the nose, and now the 4-6.
I'll tell you, in watching him practice, Fred, it seems like that nose hit is a split. You don't break up the splits too much here. Looked like he eased up on his speed a little bit that time to try to get more roll, and all it did was cause him trouble.
Dave at the 6-pin. He's open. Now has 99 in the 6th. And there's still life for Bunetta. Well, I believe that's one of the big bugaboos of the game is the over-adjusting. One mistake means 2, naturally, when you over-adjust. Soutar rolls that one. There it is. So Soutar now with a strike in the 7th as Bill Bunetta steps up in the 7th frame of the second game, working on a spare. There's the big turn. He's there. He threw that a little different, Pat.
Yeah, he sure did, Fred. He had a little more zip on it. He got the ball out a little farther. And a real good direct line that time.
Seemed like it was a little more outside from my side.
Yes.
We're not lined up too well here with lane 24 on the right, so you're going to have to steer him in on that side. I'll steer him in on this side for the double. The first double, and he leaves the 7-pin. So Bill Bunetta still unable to put 2 together. A long way from getting 5 in a row for the start of the $250 bonus. Soutar had 4 in the first game, going into the 9th frame, and then left the 8-10. Rather embarrassing. After 4 in a row. At the 7, Bunetta covers. Now let's take a look at Dave Soutar in slow motion. Watch closely. good chance to see the tremendous turn that this boy has with that. How wide do you think his span would be? That must be what?
Oh, I'd
5
say
inches.
it's well over 5 inches, Fred, probably about 5 1/4. Because I know his hand's bigger than mine, and I can go close to 5 inches if I go real wide.
That's a long reach. He throws that ball with just the first knuckles of his 2 fingers, second and third finger. He's strong, of course, a youngster. Born in Detroit in 1940. His wife, Betty, carries a cool 100 average. Pat?
That's the best way. 1 bull in a family's enough, Fred.
And they have a youngster. We're in the 9th. Soutar out in front.
When I said 1 bowler, Fred, I meant one professional bowler.
1 professional.
Not 1 bowler. We want the whole family to bowl, that's for sure.
Dave Soutar out in front. The margin actually is only 32 pins, so Bunetta is not out of this yet. $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. They'll both be making another appearance, meeting a different opponent. 22 of the world's greatest professional bowlers. They will join Dick Weber and Billy Hardwick, the seeded stars in Championship Bowling's World Series, which you will see here from Akron, Ohio, at the Firestone Bowlorama. Bunetta moving in on the right. 114. He has a spare in the 8th. There's the big turn. Solid 10. There is no justice. Observe brotherhood all year long, not just during Brotherhood Week. Respect the rights of other human beings regardless of color and creed, and teach your children to do the same. The 10 is covered by Bunetta. What was wrong with that one?
Oh, that was a beautiful shot there. I think Bill would be real happy, Fred, if he could pull the next game exactly like that all the way through. He's talking to himself a little bit, I think, though. We'll have to watch him. If he starts answering himself, he's in trouble.
Is that what happens to you when you become a bowler, Pat? You start talking to yourself when you're bowling bad? I do that when I'm playing golf. Constantly talking to myself. Well, he pushed one up. He's wide open again.
Yeah, he cut that one short, Fred.
He has the 6-7, and Mr. Bunetta has just announced to the folks here at the Firestone Bowlorama in Akron, Ohio, there will now be a little exhibition. Let's watch him. Well, a little exhibition on how to throw the ball in the channel, and boy, that one just got away from him. They're very slippery this week, aren't they, Pat?
When they get to the right side there, the ball just seems to slide. It won't get any traction on the lane at all over there.
Souter in the 10th, and he shakes one up, and he has the strike going for him, and this should give him a comfortable margin to go into game number 3 and another victory on Championship Bowling. This boy has quite a record. Averaging 219 for 12 games. His high game is 258. He has won 700 series to his credit on Championship Bowling. In the 10th, a chance for 186. Good turn. And the shaker, and the double. So Dave with a double pulling out 186. So Soutar's had one open frame in each game. The 8-10 in the first game on a 4-bagger. Cut him off at 210. This game he left the 4-6 in the 6th. He converted the 5-7 in the 4th. And this is a lane that's really been giving him more trouble. He's been short, high. Now with 2 strikes in the 10th and a 4 pin, let's hope for better things in the next game. I'd like to, Bill, I'd like to have a little bit of reason for all this on the ice or on the grass, the phrase that you introduced here some time back. That's where you are. You're ice skating, aren't you?
Yes. It seems like every time I adjust, I double it. For every light hit, I've gone right on the nose. I've paid for every one. And we have one more game to go. You never know what happens. So
well, the margin isn't too bad. Dave, after bowling very well the first game, you had four in a row. Pat and I have decided that Since you got the 810, you've become a little leery, a little careful.
You're right.
Is that it?
I think maybe you're right, yes.
And you
Trying to be too careful and don't want to leave any splits.
After the 5-7 here on the right, you let one sail and left the 4-6. Now, after two like that, what do you think of when you go back there the third time?
Don't hit the nose.
Don't hit the nose. You'll take your chances. Well, you got 2 strikes in the 10th. The totals here, it's 395, Dave, for you, and for Bill, 342. The margin is 53 pins. Is that right, Sam? 53 pins. Bill, was that too many to pick up?
No, it isn't.
It isn't.
It's never too many.
You understand? Did you get that, Dave? So pay attention. We're going to be back now for the third and final game on Championship Bowling from Akron, Ohio, the home of the Professional Bowlers Association. The third and final game, Bill Bunetta against Dave Soutar. The margin is 53 pins. Soutar out in front. Bunetta throwing high. Brooklyn side leaves the 6-pin. Big Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California, for 30 games on Championship Bowling, averaging 211. Bill has had 257 games, his high 696. Had 2 sanctioned 300 scores in 1964. Cover as the spare. And in 1963, Pat was the winner of the Fred Wolf singles event in Detroit.
Is that
thought
right,
I might
Fred?
just casually mention it.
Having bowled in that a lot of times, Fred, I know that you have to bowl very well to win that tournament because you have a lot of entries.
Too high, Soutar with a 4-6, and there is room for Bunetta.
One thing about the nose hits here, Fred, they about half the time or maybe more, they'll come up with splits with them.
It's very noticeable that the solid hit here on this side, this is the third 4-6 we've seen on lane 24. When you hit dead center, they're leaving the 4-6. We had the 6-7 on the left side, which Bunetta left. So the margin now down to around 40 pins with 9 frames to go. $1,000 goes to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. 5 strikes in a row, of course, starts bonus money going, and $50 additional for each additional strike. If he doesn't get there, the 2-4-5. That ball certainly seemed to be sliding a bit.
Well, it seems like Dave has got that one spot on lane 23 that he's come up with a 2-4-5 about 4 or 5 times now. He just can't get the ball to finish.
Two, 4, 5. The AMF spare maker indicating the ball between the 2 and the 5, and that's exactly what Dave Soutar did. We go into the second now for Bunetta. Bill was the winner of the Fairless Hills Open down Pennsylvania on the PBA Tour in 1960. The 10-pin, not much action on a pocket hit. Bill seemed to be swinging with that one.
That was more or less a half pocket hit there, Freddie. He bellied that ball a couple of boards, but it still looked like it was going to carry when it came in. That 6-pin didn't come off the wall right, and the 10-pin's still standing.
The 10-pin covered by Bunetta. Bill, one of the real popular members of the AMF advisory staff of champions, conducts many clinics all over the country. And back in 1961, Pat shot 805 on television in New York for 3 games. That's not bad.
Oh, he'd love to have that just 100 pins less right now, I think, Fred. Maybe 200 pins less he'd be happy with.
1, 2, 4, 7. You conduct a lot of clinics, Pat, for AMF, and I wonder if it's like golfers. Many golfers feel the more instructions they give, their game seems to turn sour. Do you feel by giving a lot of instructions as a bowler that your own game personally suffers?
Oh, I think you do, Fred. If you continually give the instructions without getting out and bowling competitively, yes, because you're picking up all of your students' bad habits yourself. You've got to instruct for a while and then get out and practice on your own.
Well, that's interesting. Possibly that's what Bill is thinking of. Many of the habits that he's looked at in the past year. Soutar now in the third. Gets there thin, breaks up the 5-7, leaves nothing but the 7-pin. Dave Soutar from Detroit was open in the first frame. The margin around 40 pins. We have 7 frames to go. Soutar cover. This fellow was the Michigan State Junior Champion in 1961. In 1959, he started in a league in the Motor City called the Detroit News Teen Masters League, and he averaged 195. He was a good bowler ever since he was about 17 years of age. Set that one. There's the ball.
You notice that time, Fred, he moved to the right a little bit on that pitch.
And threw it right in the pocket. Now, bowling fans, pay attention. You're going to watch Bill Bunetta in slow motion. Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California. Fella's been around for a long time, and he knows what to do with a bowling ball. But right here this week on Championship Bowling, it doesn't seem to work.
Well, they say, Fred, when it rains, it pours. When you're struggling, nothing good ever happens. That ball was about as good as any ball you could possibly throw.
Bill moves left. He's on 4 spares. He's leading in this game by 6 pins, but he trailed by 53 going in. We're in the 5th frame. 6 frames to go. The margin, 47 pins. Soutar on the strike. Bunetta is on the spare. The 4-7. Just a little tight.
Bill seems to have 2 angles on this lane 23, Fred. He's either up high on it or else he's got the 2-4-5. He can't get the ball rolling on the right line into the pocket.
The 4-7 by Bunetta. Bill putting on quite an exhibition of spare shooting. He certainly outspared Soutar. But Dave, with that 4-bagger in the first game, that's just about the difference in this match, actually. 47 pins. We're in the 5th. Soutar on a strike. This will give him over 50 pins if he can get the double. Thinking of that 8-10. And this time, the 2 and the 5. That ball just didn't finish.
He moved more to the right on this lane also, Fred, but he went away with the ball a little bit rather than going straight down the boards. So it's a familiar setup for Dave today, the 2-5. He did get the 4-pin out of there.
Of course, the 4-pin isn't too important, really, in this setup, is it?
No, it isn't. The main thing you want to do here is not chop the 2 off the 5.
Soutar covering the 2-5, looking at the AMF spare maker. So at the end of 5 in game number 3, with 5 frames to go, it's Soutar 68 spare for Bunetta, 72 spare. We're in the 6th frame. Soutar right back with a solid 10-pin. Seemed to be outside. It looks like David decided to try him outside, high and hard. He threw that one fast.
Well, he's hit the pocket solid since he's been there, except for this one on 24. I think he's got a better line now than he had before.
Soutar with a cover in the 6th. So that gives Soutar 87 in the 5th, the spare in the 6th, and Big Bill Bunetta, with 5 frames to go, has only one way to go. He's got to come up with 3 or 4 strikes in a row. And you've got to hit the head pin.
That looked like a stop and throw pitch that time, Fred. He wanted to ease up on a little bit, and he seemed to stop and then come through with his arm, and there was nothing whatsoever on the ball as he let go of it.
1, 2, 4. AMF spare maker indicates get the ball across the head pin. Following through, hitting all 3 pins with the ball. Very fine shot. So I'd like to talk to you housewives. You know, it's natural and advisable to seek diversion for a short time during the week while the youngsters are in school, and it's just as important as that coffee break for the working girl. So look, girls, why not take a break from your daily routine? Go bowling. If you're not married, ask your boyfriend. He'll take it. Well, it's not nice to beat your boyfriend the first time he takes you bowling, and let him beat you a couple of times. Bill Bunetta very happy he got a strike, Pat.
Yeah, the lameness was giving him the trouble, Fred.
So Bunetta, who started with 6 spares, now has a strike. So Soutar must pay attention, and Soutar wraps that pocket again and leaves a solid 10.
All you can do on that, Fred, is stand there by the return, wait for your ball to come back, and take a crack at it and get that spare. When those 10 pins are standing, there's not too much you can do.
And there's really no explanation. Or is there? How would you explain it?
Well, there's usually an explanation for everything, but sometimes when that ball hits solid in the pocket like that, you wonder.
Dave Soutar now moving to the left. He has 3 frames to hang on for the $1,000, and the margin is exactly 50 pins. But Bunetta is on 1 strike. So if Bill strikes in the 8th, actually that margin would be 40. So Soutar, if he can mark out, should just about make it. There's one that'll help him. A strike of the 8th. So Bill Bunetta has only one way to go. And that's the strike route all the way for 229. He trailed by 53 going in. Has he got it, Pat? 4 pin.
Yeah, he eased up just a little bit. He had a good line, but the ball was a little slower than when he was striking on that lane. So that ball could have kicked the 4 pin, though. We haven't seen a 4 pin kick yet today.
No, once you're a little tight, it's either the 4 all alone or the 6 with it. 4 pin covered by Bunetta. Bill moves to the left. Bill was born in Detroit. He went to Chicago in '56, went out to Fresno, California in '61 as a member of the National Bowling League, and he liked it so well out there, he's been out there ever since. Must be pretty nice out there in Fresno, man.
Well, Bill sure likes it. His family likes out there. That's a big thing, because Bill's traveling all over the country. He's not home too often, but it's real nice for the kids, he says. Nice, warm weather. We sound like the Chamber of Commerce in Fresno, California, Fred.
Yes, better be careful. Bunetta leaves a 10 in the 9th frame. So Soutar just about sitting on top of $1,000. The cover by Bunetta in the 9th. And Bunetta doesn't have a double. He has 1 frame left to distinguish himself in that department. And Soutar still has a chance for bonus money. A strike in the 8th. This one and 3 in the 10th will give him 5 in a row. There's the first one.
There's some real action, Fred.
Let's move left and see if Mr. Dave Soutar can come up with 3 more strikes. He had 4 in a row in the first game, left an 8-10 in the 9th.
He dropped
Never. 1-2-4. Soutar missed the head pin. He dropped that one actually back of the foul line, didn't he?
That's what it sounded like. I couldn't see the foul line when he let go, but it sure sounded like it. He wanted to make sure it rolled too good, and he rolled it at 63 feet instead of 60 feet.
AMF Sparemaker indicating ball between the 1 and 2. The ball should run right down the 1-2-4. Covers the spare. The count will give him 193. 193. Soutar started with a 4-6 split in the first frame. Caught a double in the 8th and 9th. Out with 193. Second game, he had a 4-6 in the 6th. A double in the 10th for 185. The first game, an 8-10 in the 9th on top of 4 for 210. He leaves the 2-pin for 192. Bill Bunetta now. On the right side. Bill, I'm sure, would like to go out with a double. There's the first one that is in that pocket, and he leaves the 10.
Bill just said, what else is new?
What else is new? Well, Bill has had 2 solid 10s here in the 9th and 10th. He had a 10 in the second frame. Had a couple of 10s the first game. At the 10-pin, he covers. Every week, you see 2 of the world's greatest professional bowlers in match game competition here in Akron, Ohio on Championship Bowling. $70,000 in prizes. A 300 score worth $10,000. And Championship Bowling's World Series of bowling, of course, will be the big feature at the end of this series here in Akron, Ohio. Well, Bill, we saw everything but a double.
Just about, I rolled the ball fairly well last half of the last game, but couldn't carry a thing.
Any reason? Can you give us any reason? You just fought a little tough.
At first, I was reaching out too far, and then I tried to steer a couple balls. And the last half of the last game felt very good, but I didn't carry. And I don't know why.
Well, Dave, it's another win for you, but your total not too much here, 587. Bill, you had 526, but you could say, well, I got enough to win, but I don't think you're too satisfied, are you, really?
No, not really. I wish I could have shot good after that first game, or after I left the 8-10, and I just seemed to not roll the ball, maybe start throwing a little harder, playing too careful, you know.
Well, maybe in your next appearance, we'll get a couple of big 600s
I hope so.
out of you boys. Well, we're going to be right back for the presentations on Championship Bowling here in Akron, Ohio, where the World Series of Golf is played annually. Here are the scores for Bill Bunetta: 183, 159, and 184. His total is 526. For Dave Soutar, 210, 185, and 192. His total, 587. Both boys, I would say, worked very hard, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you think so? And I believe that Bill Bunetta worked the hardest.
Yes, I did, Fred. I was just looking at the recap. I noticed I had 7 strikes total, and Dave had 11. And that is not enough.
That's not enough. We were talking a lot about 300 scores. Dave, you only got 11 strikes in all 3 games. You can't get a 300 that way, can you?
That's for sure. Maybe we should have asked each other to bowl 300 before we started.
Well, I was trying to get you to do that. I'm kind of glad I didn't now. Bill, just a question from you in your many travels for AMF, conducting clinics all over the country. What would be the most common fault that you find with bowlers from coast to coast?
Actually, we all agreed it's a matter of timing, and certainly it was evident today in my own bowling. I just didn't have the timing. And usually you can find it, but this particular case I did not.
Do you feel that when you give a lot of instructions that your game suffers, your own game personally?
No, not really, because I become more aware of the importance of fundamentals of teaching, which we teach constantly, and sometimes really improves my game.
But you couldn't apply it this week.
Not this week, no.
Bill, there's $500 as a runner-up. Dave, good luck to you. Another $1,000. Take it back to Detroit. We need the money back there. Bill, good luck out in California. It's Dave Soutar from Detroit, Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California. Good luck, boys, when you get home with those checks. Hope you can join us again next week here at the Firestone Bowlerama in Akron, Ohio, when we'll have two more of bowling's top professional stars in a three-game match competing for a prize fund of some $70,000. So speaking for Pat Patterson and myself, this is Fred Wolf. So keep 'em bowling out there. It's great fun. Matching shirts and slacks used on championship bowling by King Louie. Championship bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress, and we wish to thank AMF for their cooperation in helping us produce championship bowling.